Welcome to Tech Recipes. Java 8 introduced a new class, Completable Future. It was introduced to do asynchronous programming with Java. In this video, we will see the functionality and use cases of this class. So, let's get started. Now, before we start looking into the Completable Future, let us try to first understand what is the difference between synchronous and asynchronous programming. So, in synchronous programming, tasks are performed one at a time, which means only when one task is completed, we can move towards the next task. Now let us try to understand this with one example. Say you are writing a code to deliver weather report to a user on an email. So the steps that you will be doing are like, first you will get a user information from the database, and it is going to take some time. Then you will hit a weather report API to get the latest weather report, and then you will send an email. So since in synchronous programming you can only do one task at a time, until your user details are received, you cannot start getting the weather report, and only when these two are done you will call the send an email. Now in asynchronous programming we can do more than one task at a time. That is, we can do tasks simultaneously. So the same example, if you try to do it using asynchronous programming, it will be like this. So basically, when we are getting the user details from the database, at the same time we can get the weather report from the third-party service. And once these two are done, then we can send an email to a user. You can see this definitely saves some time. So asynchronous programming was first introduced in Java 5 with the use of a class called future. A future class basically represented a future result of an asynchronous computation. So let's see one quick example about how future can be used. So to use a future class, we basically need to create a threadful first, which is an executor service. And on executor service, we need to submit a callable type of a task. So I have written a simple task which returns some result, say hello from future. And I also introduced one method called delay, just to add some time delay for this method. So we are assuming this method will do something for 1 second and then it will return a result. So when we do this, when we basically call the executor service dot submit on a and pass a callable, we immediately get a future object. That means it doesn't wait for this particular operation to complete. So this delay of 1 second is never blocked for this delay of 1 second. So what happens is, once you call this submit, we can immediately do some other operations. And once our operations are done, maybe anything that you want to do, we can get the result whenever we want, like future.get, we can call the get method and get the message. But this call is blocking, so this call will wait until the result has appeared. So with this, basically we had one way of doing some operation asynchronously using future. There are some drawbacks of using future, so let's try to see what are those. Now, the first drawback of the future is there is no way to manually complete a future operation. Say for example, you are calling a weather report API, and if in some case, if the API is down, you want to use a cached result and return that to complete your operation. But future has no way you can complete the future manually. The second drawback is you cannot change multiple future together. So think about a use case where you are calling a particular service, and after that service returns some result, you need to do another long running computation on that. And for that you need to chain those futures, and this is not possible with the future API. You also cannot combine multiple futures together. Say for example, you need to call 10 or maybe more different services in parallel, and after all those services are complete, you need to do some operation. So that kind of thing is not easy to do using a future. Another disadvantage of future is there is no exception handling. So future API does not have any exception handling construct inside it. So because of these drawbacks, Java introduced a completable future. So let's look at that now. Completable future was added in Java 8 to basically address the drawbacks that we saw which were there with the future. Now the completable future basically implements both future and completion stage interface. So basically what happens is completable future adds the functionality which were already there in future, but along with that it gives some additional construct from a completion stage interface. And these additional methods basically provide us to do like creating a completable future, chaining, and combining multiple future. Like all those operation can be done using these additional features. And it also provides a comprehensive exception handling support. So it basically solves the problem which were there in the future. So let's look at how we can use the completable future. Now we can directly create a completable future instance using a new and utilize it, but there are some convenience methods which are added in completable future, and we are going to see those now. So there are two methods in completable future to run any task asynchronously or supply any task asynchronously. So there are two methods, run async and supply async, and we can use these methods to do anything in a asynchronous manner. Now what is the difference between these two? So basically run async takes a runnable type of object. A runnable does not take any argument and does not return anything. So if you want to do something which is not returning any result and which does not require anything, an argument, you can use a run async. And there is a supply async where it takes the supplier type of a object. So supplier is basically something which returns some object. So you can use supply async when your computation or your operation is going to result some result. So you can see a difference in the returns as well, right? So run async returns a completable future of a void, and supply async returns a completable future of type T, and which is taken from the suppliers. So you may be wondering, like when we call this run async method, like we are not creating any thread or thread pool as we did with the future, right? So where on what thread pool it runs? So by default, completable future executes this task on a thread which is obtained from a fork join pool.common pool, which is a common thread pool provided by a fork join framework of Java. However, we can also pass our own executor to this run async and supply async. So if you want to pass your own thread pool, that is also possible. So now we are going to go into the IntelliJ and we will write some code using run async and supply async, and we will see all these options. Okay, so let's start writing the code. So let us see some examples of completable future by writing some code. I will start by writing some simple class async example. Now all the code which is being used here I have committed to the GitHub repo, and you will find the link in the description for that GitHub repository. So feel free to download and check the code there as well. So before we start, I am going to add one static utility method for adding some delay to our code. So I just want to use a delay to represent some time consuming task. So it will take a seconds as argument, and I'm going to use time unit dot seconds dot sleep. I will pass the argument seconds to it. It throws exception, so we need to surround it, try and catch block. Okay, so our utility method is ready. Now we are going to see first completable future dot run async method. It requires argument of a type runnable. So first let's write our task, runnable task. Since there is only one method, we can use a lambda expression to write this code. And let's just add some delay of 1 second here, and then print maybe I am in runnable. And just to add some more information, like just to for our curiosity, let's try to print the thread where this code is going to execute. So thread.currentThread.getName, we will add it. As we have seen, we are going to create a completable future object, and since we are using runnable, we will get a return type of void. So let's create this, and let's call completable future dot run async, and we are going to pass the runnable object that we created above. Now as soon as we do it, basically completable future is going to run it on a different thread, and it is going to take 1 second, and meanwhile we can do our own something. So let's write here I am in main, and maybe let's print a thread, current thread dot get name as well, just for our benefit. And now we can call completable future dot say join. So join method basically wait for completable future to complete. Okay, so this is the simple example with completable future dot run async. Now let's try to run it. Now you can see the output here, right? So when we submitted the task run async runnable, it immediately printed I am in main, and you can see after a while, maybe 1 second wait, it has printed the I am runnable here. You can see it is executing on the forkjoin.common pool thread. So this basically method got executed on this thread. We also saw that we can pass our own thread as well, own thread pool as well. So let's try to do that. We will pass a executor service, and executors dot say new cache thread pool. Okay. Executors dot new cache thread pool, and we can pass this executor service to this runnable along with runnable to the run async. And now if we execute this method again, we can see that now runnable method is not executing on the fork join pool. Instead it is executing on the pool which we passed here. Okay, so this was it for a run async method. Now we will look at the supply async method. Now for a supply async example, let's create another class, a supply async. I'm going to paste the same delay method. We are going to reuse it here as well. In main method, now instead of runnable or supplier takes a supplier type of argument. Say we are going to consider a supplier of type string supplier, and since it is also a single method, we can write a lambda expression here, and here we will return say some string here, hello from supplier. Okay, and for debugging we can add some logging here at I am in supplier, and we can again print thread dot current thread dot get name. Okay, Now this time the completable future object that we are getting will have a type of string, and instead of run async we are going to pass supplier to a supply async method. We can again add some delay here, and delay 1 second, and in main we can print that I am in main. Now here, like when we are going to do the join operation on completable future, we will also get the value written from this supplier value, and maybe we can print the value as well before we finish our program. Okay, so let's run and see this output of the program. So we can see here that it first printed I am in main, then it printed I am in supplier after 1 second delay, and you can see it is also in executing in forkjoin.commonpool worker thread, and here we received the value hello from supplier when we did the join here. Now so far we have seen how to create a completable future using run async and supply async. Now the question is, we are still using the get or join method to block and get the response. So is there any way we can specify callback for a completable future? So answer is yes. So there are basically 3 methods which we can call on a completable future in order to do any operation once the completable future is done performing its action. So there are like 3 options we have. First one is then apply. So then apply method you can use if you want to transform the output that you receive after finishing the completable future. So it takes function as an argument. So you need to specify the input and output as well. And you can use this whenever there is a transformation is required. Then the second one is then accept. It takes the consumer as an argument. So it means it takes the response as an argument, but it doesn't return anything. So you have use case where you just need to consume the output from the completable future. You can use the then accept. Then there is a third one is a then run method, and it takes runnable as an argument, and it doesn't also return any response. So whenever you just need to perform any action after the completable feature is done, then you can use the then run method. All these 3 methods have their async variant as well, so you can use them when you want to run them on some different thread pool than the one where the completable future is. So let's now take an example and see like how we can use these 3 methods. So now I have created a callback example class, and in this class we will create some example to understand the callback option that we get with completable future. So I have copied the delay method, and let's write first our first completable future object. So we need to create a completable future that will return a string. We are going to use completable future dot supply async as we did in earlier example. Now this supplier is going to return us some string. Say the string is tech recipes, but it is going to take some time to do it. So let's introduce some delay of 2 seconds to do it. Okay, so we created this completable future, and which is going to return a tech recipe. Now think about it. Say that you need to do some operation when we get this result, and maybe you need to modify it, or you need to append or prepend something. In that case we can use the then apply method. Now then apply method takes a function. If you look at the signature of function, it takes one type and returns one type. So for in our case it will take a string, and we are going to return a string itself. So return maybe a string with prepending hello to it. So we are going to take this result written from this completable future and then apply. So we are going to apply and modify this result into prepending a hello to this string. Okay, so let's say that we need to further do something on this output. So we can change this again, and maybe we will use then accept here. So accept simply consumes, so it basically will take the string, but it won't do return anything. So what we can do is we can maybe print the result, and the result is say this yes, whatever yes is there, we will print it. And since this then accept doesn't return anything, we need to change this to void. Okay, now just for our program to wait till this code execute, we will call the join and run this method. Now as you can see, it is waiting for 2 seconds and then it returned the result hello tech recipe. So what is happening is this then will be applied on the output of this. So it creates a hello and tech recipes by appending tech recipes to hello. Then the accept will take this argument and it will simply print it. So this way we can basically attach a callback to a completable future. Now there is another third method, which is then run method, and it actually doesn't take any argument, so there won't be any result with us. But maybe we can say that result is obtained, or maybe task is finished. That kind of output we can give here, and let's run it. You can see after waiting for 2 seconds, it printed a finished. Since it did not take any argument, we don't have any value here, but we can at least tell that the task is done. So these are the 3 methods which you can use for basically giving a callback to a completable future. So in this video, we first saw what is synchronous and asynchronous programming. Then we also looked at a future in Java 5 and its limitation. Then we saw how completable future is added in Java 8 to solve those limitations. Then going further, we saw how to use the completable future using supply async and run async method. We also saw how callback can be attached to a completable future, and we saw these 3 methods: then apply, then accept, and then run. However, there is more to completable future and it cannot be covered in a single video. So we will see more functionality of a completable future in the next video. All the code which we have used in this video is there in a GitHub, and the link is there in the description, so you can go and see it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. See you in the next video.